Well, good morning. I'm Douglas Minson, the headmaster here at Veritas Preparatory Academy. Welcome. It occurs to me that the energy and the enthusiasm and the affection that you're all showing for one another reminds me of what a powerful and important and compelling tradition you are all a part of that has been continued and has been sustained and really that we're honoring here today. But what I'd like you to know is that same energy, that same affection, that same enthusiasm is what happens in this library every day. So it's a fitting venue for us to hold this event here. You are inheritors of something that has been passed on faithfully to the children who occupy this building every day. So I hope you're pleased to know that. I'm certainly pleased to be a part of it. One of the implicit axioms of the liberal arts tradition is the notion that ideas have consequences. Richard Weaver, of course, gave some explication to that in his book by that same title. And truly, we here at Veritas Prep and Great Hearts Academies are concerned about ideas both for their own sakes and for the impact that they can have. We're mindful of the ways that ideas shape the world around us, they change it, and sometimes they revolutionize they revolutionize that world. And that's why it's so important that we read not only consequential books, but great books. Inescapably, ideas not only have consequences, ideas take form. Ideas are translated into institutions, into constitutions, and into revolutions. And the Great Hearts tagline, I think, recognizes this quite appropriately. I've come to develop an interest and an appreciation for architecture in the past few years, and one of the reasons for that is that every building is itself an essay in ideas. An essay in ideas about what it means to be human and what the conditions for our flourishing are. An argument, really, about human nature. George Washington and Thomas Jefferson, conspicuously, were architects, not only of this developing American polity, a new political order, but of the buildings themselves that would house and nurture that great patrimony of liberty. They built buildings that had rooms with purposes. It's very interesting, if you have the occasion to visit some of those plantation homes, visit Monticello, visit Mount Vernon, they're very different, notwithstanding their grandeur. They're very different from the way that we think about homes today. They have rooms with dedicated purpose, dedicated to a domestic economy, dedicated to education, dedicated to conviviality. Francis Nicholson was one of the great architects of the founding era. He designed not only buildings, but cities. He designed Williamsburg and Annapolis. And Francis Nicholson applied this notion that buildings are essays on ideas to the community as a whole. And at the heart of the communities that he designed, at the heart of Annapolis, at the heart of Williamsburg, he made an argument about what it means to be human. He put schools and churches and political buildings together on axes to create the conditions for social discourse, for conversations, for an ongoing and continuing conversation about the good life. Thomas Jefferson's most important architectural artifact, of course, was his university. And at the heart of his academical village was his temple to learning, the library of the University of Virginia. Some comfort to me as a Virginian to come here and see that the school that I'm working in has at its heart a library. It is appropriate that at the heart of Veritas Prep is the John X. Evans Library. Not only because here we house and display books that preserve ideas of consequence, but because here we remember and we honor the man who is himself at the very heart of this school and of Great Hearts Academies. Thank you for joining us to pay tribute to this great man, to the legacy of which you are a part, and the legacy that your children, our children, continue to enjoy and benefit from every day that they're here at school. Of course, many families and friends worked very hard to make this library possible. The Mulhern, Heiler, and Scoggin families gave generously and tirelessly to this effort. We're all very thankful for that. And of course, we've received generous in-kind donations from the offices of Fenmore and Craig. They provided the bookshelves you've seen around us. And by the way, our librarian, Mr. Martindale, has insisted that I impress upon you that all of these sticky tabs are purely temporary. Other things. We also want to thank Indigo Painting, Wholesale Floors, and the design work here in this library was provided by Veritas parent and professional designer Ginger Brooks. We're all very much in their debt here. No one's more attentive to that, sensitive to it, and aware of it than I am. And on behalf of the faculty, on behalf of the students, I say thank you. And I especially want to say thank you to Mr. John X. Evans. So now please welcome the CEO of Great Hearts Academies, Dr. Daniel Scoggin, who will introduce Dr. Evans and pay tribute to him. Thank you very much.
I just want to thank you, Douglas, for those great words, and we're just so honored to have Douglas Minson as our headmaster of Veritas and national recruiting effort to find our headmaster to replace Andrew Ellison, and Douglas is setting up a great legacy for Veritas' second decade, so thank you, Douglas, very much. And it's great to see so many friends here. You know, this is really the fabric of Dr. Evans' life, represented here in these friendships. From ASU, from the Phoenix Institute, from Tempe Prep, from Great Hearts, from church, from the surrounding community. Jack, this is a testament to your life, the men and women who are here to be with you. And my journey with you began when Rosie gave me a nickname. Rosie, do you remember that nickname that you gave? It was Woodstock. So, because my hair, I would never comb my hair, and it would stick straight up. So, thank you, Rosie, for my unofficial tagline. And oh, I didn't know that part of the story, but it certainly builds my confidence right now. So I'm sure Rosie and Jack have nicknames for you all on some list, but I just briefly wanted to just say a few words, and then of course we'll have Jack come up and exhort us as he's done throughout our lives. I can't wait for that. And then after that, Bob Mulhern will come up and officially dedicate the John X. Evans Library. So Jack, you've spent a life studying, certainly the last 30 or 40 years, you studied other great parts of Renaissance literature before that, but you spent your life studying what it means to be a hero. And you embody that. And you've taught me that a hero is a person who stands in the breach to save, redeem his or her culture. The hero stands in the breach to save, redeem his or her culture. And there are three parts to that you've taught us, many of us here. First of all, there's staying power, that you keep going. You don't back up. Of course, you represent that staying power. You've never gone backwards in life. You've always gone forward. Secondly, a hero is willing to sacrifice, lose their body, lose their well-being in a sense, lose their physical goods for the sake of that larger purpose and cause of their life. They're willing to stay in power, they're willing to sacrifice. And then thirdly, a hero has soul, has depth. They lead, they hold that place on the wall because of the character that comes out from within them, that internal compass, that sense of personality and purpose. And we all know that Jack represents all of these three characteristics of the hero fully and completely, Jack, because you've redeemed our times. You have redeemed our culture. And that begins with your work at ASU. I see men like Jay here and Bob and Mr. Skoll, many others who I know that way back when, before charter schools started, you were inspiring men and women at ASU. Tom Butler has been a big part. I can see so many faces from the early years of your influence that have led others. An expanding circle from there. Your founding of Tempe Prep and bringing the liberal arts curriculum of Trinity to Arizona. How many people has that impacted? Bringing that liberal arts curriculum here. As Mr. Minson said, it's here at the center of Veritas, but it's also all around the valley, and it'll soon be in Texas as well. That's your doing. And so redeeming the times, Jack, that is clearly a measure of your life. And of course, this identity of a hero is also the identity of Rosie as our heroine. Rosie and Jack are a package, as you know, and mutually reinforce each other to exponential effect. So Rosie, just as much this library is yours. And the impact that Jack has had throughout his life, he would not have been able to pull that off. And we all know that you're a lot cooler than Jack. Sorry, Jack, but that's true. And so I just want to close before I turn it over to. Well, one thing I do want to say before I turn it over to you, Jack, is I want to thank Jeff. Jeff Van Brunt is here, and our tireless development director. And Jeff is the one who made sure we had this event. Because as you know, the library came after the campus was finished. Well, the campus really wasn't finished per se, because the library wasn't here. But Jeff said, Dan, Jay, remember, we need to dedicate this library. So this event is upon us because of Jeff's clear sense of who really does what, who really deserves to be thanked in the network. So thank you, Jeff, for putting this event together. So the last thing I would say is that, for Jack, not all of our fathers are ones that are born to us. So my dad died young, Jack, and you stepped in, and I know Mrs. Shelton's here. We were just talking about Merle Shelton. I think in my life, Jack Evans and Merle Shelton were the two men that stepped in and taught me what it was to be a man. And so for that, I'm eternally grateful, Jack, and to Merle as well, for those of you that know Mr. Shelton or knew him. And the last thing is that at the end of the exhortations that you give at the Phoenix Institute, many of us attended that program, I don't know if you do it every time. When I was there, you did it. You gave that great speech about siempre adelante. Always forward, always forward. We never go back in life. We always go forward, endlessly forward. And that was captured in your relentless goodwill to others. And not to be vague, relentless goodwill to pursue the truth. You're not just kind, you're kind-hearted for something, towards something. And so for that relentless goodwill, Jack, siempre adelante, we'll always be grateful. So Jack, would you please come up and share a few words with us?
Thank you very, very much. We've all had dreams that we know are dreams, and they're sometimes good, sometimes not. So today, it's kind of like that for me. Is this really happening? And I'm glad to see it really is happening. I've had a good life. I'm very grateful for it, and very grateful that I'll probably live another 50 years or so. I'm very, very grateful for the affection embedded in the walls and windows of this library, which you have chosen to dedicate to me today. I'm dazzled by the place itself, of course, so cheerful, inviting, and well supplied. No doubt that Veritas prep students will revel more than ever in illumination, rising from the books and journals stationed here, and from dialogue with one another, with faculty, and with the great-hearted men and women, past and present, who shine like stars in the sky, holding out wisdom and hope. There are those who predict the demise of books as we know them, and the disappearance of libraries in a technologically transformed world, which literally puts learning in the palm of one's hands. But it could be that there is something in our contact with books that even Apple can't provide.